The it's only 100 feet of the water main needs to be upgraded. I checked the prices at the with the private contractor, and he says about $300 a meter would be the cost. So about just over $10,000 to develop that. So we're not asking very much from the. And as to previous development permit, we are doing the sidewalks, the gutters, and the upgrade of the frontage, which was the major cost on that development permit. So we request that council consider and look into that. The development of the site is very difficult, and it's going to be very costly to do it. To make it feasible project, we need some help from the city.
Can I follow up that question up? Just with the city engineer, there's a difference there in the estimate, 10,000 and 20,000. Is the city's estimate of 20,000, is that based on some type of input from an expert, or?
Your Worship, the cost of the water main that the developer is referring to is picking it up at this point at the existing 200 millimeter and bringing it up to his service, which is about half the water main length, and then we would pay the other half to make it like 50-50, where it's 20,000 for the full frontage to tie into period.
Okay, so if I can just summarize and make sure I understand. We are asking for his section, which is $10, and we would do the other 10,000 in a cost sharing 50-50.
Your Worship, that is something he's paying for is to up to 200 millimeter for his service to make sure he has adequate protection.
So if I can just go back to with that agreement, would that be in any way prohibitive to you going ahead with your development?
To the development, which is already pretty high, and as of right now, we have subject clause on the sale, and this, approval of all this is going to make or break the contract with the previous owner, which was advertising that everything is all in there and everything is approved there, and now we haven't to, because some of the bylaw changes and all that, we having to do a lot more work as it was promised, but it's subject to all this until.
Well, Your Worship, just the pre-development permit, which was okayed with the city picking up not just the water, but curb and gutter and all of that. Is there a reason that expectation is different now?
I guess the expectation is the bylaw requirements are the bylaw requirements, and I've just suggested a different time historically.
So at that time, was it bylaw requirements, or was it a subjective decision by the council?
I think it's a subjective decision by council. The bylaw requirements were essentially the same at the time.
Okay, but the
council had a different philosophy.
The economic times were different. Okay, thank you very much.
I wanted to clarify, understand, even though I was at the table, it was quite a long time ago. When we approved the variances last time, there was no contribution by the developer to any roadworks or sidewalk or traffic bulb or anything like that. Is that correct?
Yeah, Kevin.
The developer
Was granted a variance in which he didn't have to do any road upgrade. The water variance with the previous one. But there, on that picture of the traffic bulb, in the end, the developer to cost share a portion of that traffic to the street, which doesn't have a property. The yellow portion there, the previous developer agreed to contribute some money towards that. But
in front of the property where it's showing the purple, he didn't agree to any of that, correct?
council agreed to waive all of that.
Right. And that the logic at the time, I believe, was the difficulty of the property, the fact it's been sitting the way it had for so long, and that was the second attempt to get it done, but the third attempt, right?
That's right.
Okay, thanks.
Your Worship, can I add that when he initially started the development, he was only looking at this piece over here. And then as development proceeded, he purchased this corner lot, providing access off it. There, things did have changed over time.
Thank you.
But the application did include that corner lot, if I remember correctly.
The final application did.
Right. Councilor Cont'd.
Has contributed to the upgrades in any way, or how are they being serviced at this time?
Your Worship, on Appendix 4, we have a contribution from this property of the Colonial House of about $16,000. And if all this proceeds, I would propose we add a little bit of money to finish the curb and gutter and sidewalk on Fifth right here. And then the whole side would be done all at the same time.
I have one more question. That's pertaining to the property at 430. I'm thinking that probably other councillors have had a call. It will obviously dwarf that house, and I guess, that's development. But I was trying to figure out how many balconies overhang their property, which...
We're still working on the amendment.
Yeah, that's true. I can ask that after. It's one of my things.
Councilor Harrison.
Yeah, thanks, Councillor Kelly, for bringing that Colonial House situation. So is the water main in front of Colonial House, is it 200 millimeters versus 100?
Your Worship, that was upgraded to 200. It was the developer that paid for it at the time.
100%?
That wasn't here at the time, but I believe it was.
Okay.
The owner of the Colonial House was the applicant, I believe, at the time. I don't know if that's relevant, but... Councilor Flynn. The previous applicant owned the Colonial House, yeah. Councilor Flynn.
Yeah, I agree with your worship. I don't know if it's relevant, but it was the owner of Colonial House that had the previous application and asked for all of the variances and that were granted at the time, so I'm not sure what meaningful that is, but it is the fact.
Well, it's a little rough in that he used the fact or the statement that he was losing money on Colonial House to justify his request for variances. Anything further on the amendment? All in favor? Opposed? The motion, the amendment is carried. The chair is in favor. Back to the motion as amended. Councilor Rice. You still have it?
No.
Eric. Councilor Harrison.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. First of all, as the developer has mentioned, I think we all want something different to happen on those two properties that are happening there right now. And it's very appealing that there's nine real suites going to go in there, hence density bonusing. And also that there's some underground parking. I don't have any troubles really with the rest of the variances. A general question though about the R5 zone. I'm wondering about the height that's permissible there. It seems to me that the height permissible in the R5 is too low anyway. And I'm wondering if that is something that will in the next OCP review, or whether it's just me that's
I think it's referred to in the report.
Yeah, there's a number of R5 developments. If they're on a slope site, that oftentimes they do require variances. It's one of those things that, as part of an upcoming review of the zoning bylaw, we want to make them scheduled, but there's a number of things we'd like to fine-tune within that, or at least review. That might be one of them. The other thing to consider is on every multifamily or apartment project, you require a development permit. So on a site-by-site basis, that gives the opportunity to look at specific height variances rather than having a blanket approach to it. There's quite benefits to both approaches, but it's something we have to consider as a means of achieving more density in the R5 zone, is to maybe consider an increase in height.
Yeah, I would be in favor of that, because even on a flat lot, I mean, R5 is our highest density, and if that's our height, it's not really all that high. In this instance, of course, the drawing shows clearly that even with the variance, this building will be the